Yes, hello everyone. Today in this part, chapter 13 PUC first year syllabus, computer science subject, 13th chapter, user defined function. In that today we are starting from types of arguments, second part of chapter 13. See, first of all, argument in the sense what these are the input values to the function sent by the uh, sent to the function at the time of calling. So functions receives these values and utilizes these values, and it uses those values during the manipulation of the function definition. So here we have two types of argument, actual argument and formal argument. Actual arguments are those which are written at the time of calling the function. Formal arguments are those which are written at the time of writing function definition. Right. So here we'll have an example to understand what is actually a actual argument and formal argument. In detail, I'll explain. So here we have one example. Write a program to add two numbers. Formula is C is equal to A plus B. In the last class, we have seen what is prototype, what is calling a function, how to write the definition of a function. As per that, this line indicates the prototype, which indicates that the name of the function is calculate. It is taking two arguments, right, of type integer, which is written inside the parenthesis. So here, two variables are declared. We are taking input of two values. We are calling a function called as calculate, and we are passing or we are sending two values A and B to the function calculate. So that means here this is the place where we are calling the function calculate from the function main, right? So A and B at the time of calling, what names, variable names you are passing, they are arguments, but they are called as what? Actual argument. A comma B are actual arguments. That means variable names sent to the function and return at the time of calling a function, they are called as what? Actual argument. And this is what function definition. This is what function definition. And this function definition, here the P and Q what we have written, P and Q are formal arguments. That means at the time of writing definition, here inside this parenthesis, whatever variable name we are writing, they are formal argument. The data type of this formal argument should get matched with the data types of the actual argument. The values of the actual argument are sent to the formal argument. So formal arguments will be utilized inside the function. This is a difference between actual argument and formal arguments. Now coming to local variable. See, a variable declared inside the function or a block is called as a local variable. First point. Second point, it is accessible only inside the function. Third point, its life starts when the function definition execution starts, and its life ends when the function execution completes. That means when the function execution starts, whatever the variables declared inside the function, they'll get declared and their life starts from that point onwards. And when the function execution complete, that is all the statements present inside the function, when the execution completes, after that, what happens is the values, the local variable values will be destroyed or will get deleted automatically from the memory. So that outside this function, if you are trying to access these local variables, it is going to be an error. That is what local variable. Local variables are basically used to access, right, to handle temporary values, right, temporary values. Coming to the global variable, the points are like this. A variable which is declared outside all the function definition, including main, right? It is called as global variable. And this variable, usually it will be written before main after hash include IOString. And these variables, see, global variables are accessible everywhere in all the function, in all the like whatever the units you are written in that particular program, they're all you can access it. Second point. Regarding its life, when the main program execution starts, these variables will get created in the memory. That means their life gets started. And once when the main program execution completes, these global variables will be destroyed or will be deleted or removed from the memory so that they will not be more accessible anywhere in the program, right? So these are accessible everywhere. That is why all the values you can't take it as a global variable. Only selected variables you can take as global variable, right? You can see the example before the main they have declared variable. Wherever you want, you can use it. And int p comma q, which are declared inside the main, these are called as what local variable because these are restricted only to this section. You can't access it outside. Whereas this int a and b, they can be used anywhere in the program. That is global variable. There are some function to find the LCM of two numbers. Right. In mathematics, you'll be knowing about LCM, right? Least common. It is least common multiple, where here you see they have imported including two header files and two global variables are declared by name A and B because they are declared outside all the function. Int GCD, int x comma int y. So they have declared one local variable called as R, and using this loop, right, they are calculating the value of R and then return A. R, A, and B. All these three statements will get executed. And again, after that, we go to while. And again, this will be manipulated until B is not equal to 0. Return A in the sense what? The value A will be returned back to the calling program. While main int, see, this is what prototype. We are declaring a function. We are telling to the C++ compiler that we are declaring a function called as a GCD with the argument x and y and with the return type int. So three variables are created and enter any two numbers. First, their product is being calculated and we are passing A and B as an actual argument to the function GCD, greatest common divisor. So from the GCD, you are going to get a return A. The value A will be returned. So LCM means total product divided by G. Total product by G. So both GCD and LCM both will be printed here. It's a practical program, so give more concentration. Kindly recheck that program. So scope of variable means what? In this case, scope of the variable means what? Here there are some points I have listed. Location of the program where the variable is declared. Have you declared inside the block, inside the function, or outside all the function? Where you have declared it? First point. In what all function that variable can be accessed? Right. Third one, a variable existence in memory. that is its lifetime, when variable will be created and deleted from RAM. Right. So that means first point is about where you are declaring, where all we can access it, and how much long it is going to stay in the memory, that is its lifetime. Based on these 3 points, right, local, global, two types of scope of variable is being classified. Nested and parallel scopes, right. So in the following example, here down, f and g are global function, x is a global variable, therefore their scope is to the entire program. The second x is declared inside the main, so it has a local scope, right? So there is an example demonstrating local scope of a variable. So here you can see f function is declared, g function is declared. Here we have a value x, right? And 10 is assigned to x. Inside the main, you are declaring one more x. Right, it's called as a local variable. This is global variable. And 20 is assigned to it. And one more x is declared inside the body of a block. And here, even it will print your value also, right? And then in the main x, what we have, it is x. In the main, scope resolution operator x is there, that you have right, scope resolution operator x. And now they are calling f and g. And this is the output we are going to get. And then types of functions. There are 5 different categories of function. Function no with no argument, no return. And the next, function with arguments and without return value. And third one, function with no argument but with return values. Fifth one, with argument with return value. And then recursive function. These are the types of functions. First one, no argument, no return value. Where in this, function doesn't allow you to pass any arguments to it. You need to pass these values. See, these values cannot be shared here. Right. Whereas either you're writing the function prototype like this or like this, both are same. Inside this parenthesis, you can leave it empty, indicating means no argument. And here also you can write void, that indicates that nothing. That means there are no parameters. Right. Here you can see void natural, open close brace. So now here you see no return or type, function name, and here argument list is there. Right. Second category, with argument with no return value. You can see that there is one here you can have argument, one or more than one, but return value will not be there. Second format. You can see here wide average int x, y, z. Wide average they have written. That means there is no return type in this. And their return function, whatever the result is there, they have to print it here only. And next one is function with no argument, no return value. In such case, return type, mentioning return type and the return statement is important. Right. Here you see int greatest. If A greater than B, return A, else return B. Right, like this. Function with arguments with return value. Both are present. With arguments and then with return type. Right. Return type is float. Function name is we have given as interest. Float. There are three parameters. So now one example is there. Float interest three arguments. And here the calculation is done and they have sent return. Recursive function means what? A function that calls itself is called as a recursive function. The recursive functions are used to solve some complex problems. In a simpler way, usually this kind of calculator, this kind of function will be utilized. So return type, function name, argument list, do some operation, then return that result. Right. And now that is recursive function. One example also they have given. Now here you can see float expo to find x raised to y using recursive methods. If a is 0, return 0.0. And here if a equal to 0, return 0.0, else if n is equal to 0, this else is written, this else is belongs to this if. And after doing so, this is the function definition they are written. When it comes to the main program, here x and y values are being accepted, and two values x and y are being imported from the keyboard, and they're calling the function for expo, sending two parameters at the time of declaration of the function. So it will be called, it goes to the definition, it do the calculation, and it sends this x and y formal parameter to so here the x and y are formal arguments which are sent to the expo function where a and n are declared. A is representing the value of x, while n is representing the value of y. These are the results. Passing default arguments in functions. So why default values are required? At the time of calling the function, if your function is not taking all the required values, then it's going to be an error. Right. So now think that at the time of defining the function only, right? Directly, if we are sending the all values for all the parameters, it's okay. Suppose if you are not sending all the parameters, then what to do? In such case, default values for each and every variable will be taken. Default values will be defined in the class function definition only. And wherever you want it, you just use that function name, even though if you are missing any of the values for right, then in such case So we are sending this formal parameter to actual parameter, right? And those will be received by actual argument from formal parameter. It will utilize those things for some particular operation, right? That means if you are not supplying sufficient number of arguments, then these default chairs, so these default values will be utilized for the further calculation without indicating the error that you have missed the value for some particular argument. In this way, you can protect the which you can avoid errors, right, which are usually occurring at the time of declaration of the function, right? So here you can see there are any argument in the prototype cannot have a default values. See here, float amount in time, float rate equal to, it is valid one. Second one is also valid. Always you can give the values from right to left, not left to right. So, but this is wrong because amount is one, rate of interest is right. It is present only for rate variable. You are given default argument. And second one from the right side, you are leaving the value. And third one you are giving, that is wrong. If you are giving, give it continuously for all. Don't make any gap in the beginning. Right. Use of default arguments. See, default arguments are those where the programmer will be providing the values for those arguments. If there are no sufficient values, it will utilize these values and it will continue with the calculations without giving the error. Usually, whenever we are calling the function, calling must be done as per the prototype. That means the name of the function, how many arguments it requires, what data type it is expecting, what kind of return values there. All those things you have to consider and you have to call the function. Based on that, if the function is having three parameters, you have to send three values. If you are sending two values, if you are sending one value, if you are sending zero number of value, then the compiler is going to give you the error, right? So that is why for some of the argument, you can provide a default values. Argument which has default value is called as a default argument. Default values to the argument will be provided at the time of writing prototype only. At the time of calling or at the time of writing definition, nowhere the default value for that particular argument should not be written. Here you see there is a function called as a add with the three arguments with return type in different ways how I can call it. See, first one, as it requires three values, I'm sending three values, so it is valid. Whereas in this one, you can see that there are two values I'm sending, I'm not sending third value. So it's an error because we have written prototype with three arguments, but you are supplying only two, where here you are supplying only one. So error. You are not supplying anything at all. You are supplying zero number of arguments, so it is error. And this is also error because it is expecting three values, but you are sending four values. That is also wrong, right? So that is why here you see I'm calculating simple interest through a function where three arguments are there in the prototype. So for all these three values, you can see after declaring the argument, there itself I have provided a default value assigned to that particular argument, right? And after that, at the time of calling, see three values we have inputted. So all the three values I'm passing. Using that, it will go here, it will do the calculation, the result will come back into answer, right? So whereas here in this, you are passing only two value. So that is also okay because two values you are sending. Third value will be taken from the default value. You are sending only one value, remaining two values are taken from the prototype. You are just calling, you are not sending the values. It will take everything from the prototype itself, from the default arguments. Here also the same simple interest example is there. And when you are defining, always value should be provided from right side to left side. Right. Think that here you are providing the value for R, you are providing value for the T, you are not providing value for P, it is okay, correct. You are providing the value for R, you are not providing the value for T, but you are providing the value for P. So it is also wrong. You have to provide it from right to left sequentially. Here also, to copy a string into another string using constant argument, right? So constant argument means what? Sum of the argument. If you want the function definition to use my value for the manipulation, but it should not alter the value of my argument. In such case, that argument can be made as const argument. You can see here int str const character star p, and int total const int x and const int y. These are the argument which are prefixed with the keyword const. They are constant argument. You can see here one example. We are copying one string into another string. Two strings are copied here as an argument. First string is a normal one. Second string is it's a constant argument. Where here enter the string, and after that we are sending d and s string to the function copying, where s is the inputted string which you want to copy it to the d. And here in this, what you are doing is you are using a for loop to copy the contents of s into d. But at last to the d, you are assigning null character. But if you try to change, if you try to make any like changes to the argument yes, then it's going to be an error. So to call the function, we have two methods. One is pass by value, another is call by pass by reference. Pass by value is also called as call by value. Where in this function you can see that this is pass by value. What is the meaning of that? Here, at the time of calling a function, whatever the argument you are specifying, it is actual argument. At the time of writing the function definition, whatever the variable names you are writing over here, these are formal argument. The names of these arguments may be same or they may be different, right? Where in this case, call by value means a copy of actual arguments, that is duplicate copy of actual arguments values will be passed to the formal argument. Formal argument, if it makes any changes to the received values, will not affect it to the actual argument, right? Actual argument. That is what pass by value or call by value. You can see here swap int comma int is there. You are passing two values. And here you are interchanging the value of x and y. But when you print after calling the function a and b values are, they will be remain same. They haven't exchanged. They haven't swapped. They are remain same because this is calling by value method. Pass by reference in the sense we are not going to send the values to the function definition. Instead, we are going to send the memory address of the actual argument where it is actually stored in the memory to the formal argument. So that formal argument physically it goes to that location and it will access the value. So that means in the pass by reference, you are passing the actual memory address to the formal argument. So formal argument receives the memory address of actual argument instead of the values of the actual argument. And is any changes done to the received values will automatically affect to actual arguments also because actual arguments are allowed to use their original memory location by the formal parameter. Hence, any changes done to the formal parameter automatically it affects to the actual argument. This is used usually by using the reference operator. See here, and symbol is there. we are passing argument through reference operator. Enter the two values before calling A and B. Swap A comma B. Here values are printed. Here you see as they are passed by reference. Reference means what? Alias for the existing variables, and both original name and the reference both will be pointing to the same memory location. Here X and Y are changed, that are automatically affected to A and B. Even A and B have got interchanged. You can see in the output A is 10, B is 20. After calling the function A is 20, B is 10. Parsing arrays to a functions. When it is possible to send the arrays to a function. Remember, when we are passing arrays, strings, structures to the function, usually it will be by passed by reference mode only, right? So here you can see we have concatenate two character arrays are there, or we can call it as character array only. Two input, two strings are there. We are asking for first string and second string. Concatenate S1, S2. S1 and S2 are passed as argument to the concatenate function. As they are string, so automatically they are passed as a by reference. Both length are being calculated. And then from the end of the first string, the contents of the second string will get started popping it, right? At last, null character is added to the ST. One more program to sort elements by bubble sort. Read, sort, print, all are with the pointer. That means by reference. Either they may have used a reference operator, they may have used a pointer to integer. A of 15, how many elements? Read A, sort A, print A. So you come to the sort, read. They are not saying anything written, but still it is affected to the original array. Even in the print also, they are not saying anything written. Here directly they have said void, but still the values can be affected values can be accessed from your main function, right? So like this. Passing structures to functions. How to send structures to a function? Structure declaration is done. We are calculating something called as sum. Both are of data type time t1 time t2. Returning type is of time. Void show time t. And then time t3. Right. So there, here structure variable is declared. And t1 and t2 are initialized with values. And first time show t1, show t2, sum t1 comma t2, and then values are being printed. You can see here they are calculating the total hour and minute, and the total is a variable of type structure time. So they are returning the structure also. Right. This is the completion of 13th chapter. Thank you.